entertainment and everything else include the fact that I now have a better piece of technology to work with when it comes to doing things for YouTube. So, welcome to part of where I'm from. Nice background image for the start of the video. I'm gonna kick right into the web today. Where I've got a video queued ready to go.
Imagine, if you will, that you live in a city. You get out of bed one morning, have your coffee, have your breakfast, take your shower, get dressed, wish your loved ones a good day, walk out and take your bus to work. And then this.
Ah. The fuck? What the fuck? You can see my eyes real clear. This is awesome. I'll turn off the video effects in a little while. Yeah, and of course I had to wear something over my face for this particular video, didn't I? Huh? We're listening to Kraut and T, by the way, is a YouTuber from Germany. If you like what you hear with Kraut, by all means subscribe to him before you subscribe to me. But I am looking for subscribers. I need 100 subs. I need at least 100 subs. That's why I'm putting so much effort into streaming and stuff like that, to show that I can indeed be worth the effort. Some of the things that we're watching, well, I like the fact that this could be a media experience, you know, that it's interactive. So some of the time I'm going to stream things to YouTube, back to YouTube, rather than posting links to Facebook or some utter crap like that, you know. Oh. Gracious. Well, flares. Hello transit bus. Why are we taking our rage out on the transit bus
today as Antifa made its entrance to the city hosting the G20 summit? I want you to take a good, long look at them. Personally, I find these people to look more like a fascist black shirt goon squad gang, a bunch of violent ideologue hooligans. And I want you to keep in mind that these people call themselves the anti-fascists. It is worth note that almost exactly 3 years ago, the then family minister and current social democratic governor of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, Manuela Schwesig, announced that left-wing extremism is an over-exaggerated problem, announcing wide-reaching plans to extend the combating of right-wing extremism by expanding funds available to youth engaging anti-extremism groups and further expansions. All nice and well, yet simultaneously she did the following. Cut the programs for combating left-wing extremism, doing so under the explanation that previous programs for outreach to de-radicalize left-wing extremists had failed, and consequently she made the decision not to seek out improvements to any existing programs or build new ones, but to cut the programs combating left-wing radicalization completely, whilst putting emphasis on the fact that her new de-radicalization program, after all, has the title Active Against Right-Wing Extremism, Violence and Dehumanization, and therefore apparently has no room for combating left-wing extremism. Oh boy, I wonder how fucking well ignoring a problem went.
Question is who are they really if they're all covered in their identities, right? Who are they actually? How well organized are they, for example? Are they following a pre-planned set of conditions? Script, if you will. I think, ooh, gosh. We're moving in a soft line here. If you can clearly see the sense of solidarity between individual members and the way that they move together. My experience, anyone who's moving closely together like that is also communicating with one another. Am I right? Good God, man. Kraut and T His interesting background. His grandparents were of different nations. Some from Germany, some from Great Britain. Thus, kraut and tea. He also has lots of interesting things to say about the left in terms of how it leads into fascism from time to time. He'd be in a good position to talk about that. Checking my frame rates and stuff here. Hoping it doesn't get too... Wah. Thing is, this is the group that has identified itself as Antifa. So if the question is, are they asking for police response by damaging property first? Is that their tactic? That would be like a way of inviting a response from police forces.
It is true that left-wing violence is not as prevalent as right-wing motivated political violence. Statistics published over the years have shown that when it comes to political violence, right-wing extremists still dominate. There's also differences in the type of violence. Right-wing extremists tend to focus on attacks on individual people, whilst left-wing extremists tend to attack and vandalize private or public property, as well as engage in attacks against law enforcement. The government, however, seems to have had the misguided idea for a very long time that just because something is less prevalent, it somehow is a non-issue. I remember in 2015 when the city of Leipzig had a series of 16 separate attacks against police officers, which culminated when a group of up to 50 black-clad Antifa thugs stormed a police station. And back then I thought to myself that the media coverage was pretty low considering the severity of what had just happened. Left-leaning political parties and institutions since the early 2000s have been suspiciously silent, unwilling to condemn, or at worst outright supportive or even advocating for what is essentially a group of thugs. Oh, but they are the good guys because they call themselves the anti-fascists line is easily one of the single most ingenious marketing coups any political movement has ever undertaken, completely masking the thuggish intentions of what is essentially one of the biggest enemies of democracy in our modern Western societies. Let's not mind the fact that they organize busloads of people to essentially go from picketing line to cause riots and chaos wherever they go, disrupting peaceful protesters on their way. And let's just conveniently ignore the fact that these people have had a violent history through and through. If you go to Germany's predominant left-wing paper Taz and search by the term Antifa, you will find nothing more but one article after another in praise of this organization and its actions. And if you want, you can go to the horse's mouth itself, indiemedia.org, an Antifa homepage and forum dedicated to organizing the various different groups.
Here we go.
There you will find an appointment calendar of events that are targeted, and readers are encouraged to turn up and disrupt these. A page called Illegal, Legal, We Don't Give a Shit. Well, there's a phone number you as an Antifa member should call if you get arrested, with explicit warning that under no circumstances should you ever talk to the police. A map with places to sleep over if you and your rioting Antifa group need to take a longer trip to a place to stay and riot. Currently this map of Hamburg, interestingly enough, also includes the publicly funded theatre as a location for Antifa thugs to sleep, together with a section where people can post and brag about their own great political accomplishments, such as bragging about setting a police car on fire, bragging about the occupation of the city of Hamburg, which apparently has successfully started, bragging about setting an entire parking lot of cars ablaze in a, quote, comfortable living area in the name of class struggle. Keep in mind that posts like these specifically say that, yes, we did this to further our cause. Crowdfunding to rent a special train to get as many people as possible to riot in Hamburg. Posts bragging about vandalizing memorials and statues of historical figures. Posts bragging about setting fire to trucks belonging to businesses in the name of fighting capitalism. Bragging about vandalizing a bank in Austria. Posts bragging about vandalizing an office building And even from across the Atlantic by now, a post bragging about vandalizing a Montreal restaurant because, quote, the meals were too expensive, so therefore it was only used by yuppies. This is not just some regressive bullshit publication about Marxist gender theory nonsense. No, this is a place where people come to organize, plan, carry out, and then brag about serious criminal offences. Can you imagine the shitstorm if a site like this would be found by the media and it turned out to be some right-wing blog or Islamic site? As far as I know, sites like this would be immediately shut down if they were anything other than left-wing. This is, in essence, a more violent and vile version of the Daily Stormer for black-clad Marxist fascist thugs. I grew up in the early 2000s and late 1990s and remember a time when Nazi skinheads were feared as a group of violent drunkard hooligans who would go out there to protests and riots to cause harm in the name of their toxic ideology. And those people were rightfully despised by the wider public. And it strikes me as almost unbelievable that we find a group which in essence is the same in its actions, a violent enemy of democracy, that they are not treated with the same disdain that Nazi skinheads are treated with by the wider public and politics. A lot of people often say, oh well, they only attack Nazis and Nazis are filth and deserve it and so forth and so forth. And I find that to be the most disgusting excuse there is for this group. Last year, a group of 10 neo-Nazi skinheads were ambushed as they were exiting a train station in Middle Germany and attacked by a group of up to 30 Antifa thugs, one of whom caved in the skull of a 35-year-old right-wing extremist with a baseball bat, who then had to be rushed to hospital for immediate emergency operations. And I know that there are people out there who will squeal, just a Nazi, he deserved it anyway. Well, what on earth makes you believe that some people, merely because they claim to have the virtue of being on the right side of history, have the right to be judge, the jury, and to bash in someone's skull because you don't deem these people worthy of any recognition, even of basic humanity? With that being said, the previous assumption itself is bullshit. The posts I gave as example are proof in themselves that these self-proclaimed anti-fascists inflict harm upon far more than just mere neo-Nazi skinheads. I'd like to leave you with a clip from the G20 Hamburg riots, where two Antifa fascists, both too dumb to even consider concealing themselves, attack the journalist Marcus Di Paola from a Chinese media outlet whilst screeching, "Nazi pig, piss off Nazi pig," assaulting him, beating him to the floor and kicking him in the face for merely doing his job and filming the protests as a journalist.
Ow! Sorry. No. I'm sorry. Pistol! Fucking Nazi-Schweine! Haut ab! Jetzt verpiss dich! Fuck off! Jungs, alles gut. Can I have that? Are you a Nazi? No, not a Nazi.
Huh. Interesting. So yeah, the ones who don't like cameras. For some reason, some of these Antifa people don't like cameras. That's probably why he's calling them Marxists, right? Right? Because they're Marxists, then Leninists, then Stalinists. No good. Anyhow, this is just, just like disappointing in a way. Good guy though, like Kraut T. I like him overall. Let us check out what's on the go at Sticks, Hex, and Hammers, please. Because I've heard him described elsewhere as one of the best on YouTube, and he really is. He's sharp as a bloody tack. Special education, Trump reportedly considers what? Oh. See, here we go. This one is interesting.
Alright everyone, because of the all-encompassing nature of this issue right now in the news, I ask that everyone watch the entire video before bothering to comment, either in approval or disapproval, because honestly sometimes people get it wrong a bit, because they don't wait. They see the title or they listen to the first minute and then
he's apologizing for the baitness
Donald
of his
Trump
click.
came out on Twitter earlier saying that in consultation with his military generals he had decided to ban transgendered people from entering the U.S. Armed Forces at any level. That means combat roles, non-combat. That means like medical
I
staff,
just had
everything
my,
under
oh
the sun.
man, I just had my
can't even
fucking
be
legs
like
waxed.
a paper pusher for the military if you're transgender. Now let's put the moral argument aside for a moment, because that's more it's more subjective within human reasoning. Here's the legal problem with what he's trying to do.
Oh, okay.
I can see this, and this is my prediction. Within the next 10 years, this will become the next gay marriage. It'll become a national nightmare. It'll cause people to... It'll tear families apart and pit people against each other. It'll turn into some dumb partisan issue. And people will make all sorts of weird statements about it. And ultimately, the Supreme Court will come in. And they will rule against it. And it'll be determined to be unconstitutional. And here's why. I can envision, some years from now, 10 years, 15 years, the Supreme Court will say, well, there was always an easy workaround to this situation. A blanket ban makes no sense in any legal framework. It's unconstitutional, and so it has to end. And then at that point, by the way, when they rule on it, you're going to be left probably wishing that they used the workaround, and I'll explain that in a moment to begin with, because then you're going to be using taxpayer money to fund hormone replacement therapy and things. Now, the solution to this is very, very simple. The solution is as follows, and it's multi-pronged here. Number one, make it clear. Transgendered people can join the military, but if they want hormone replacement therapy while they're there, it's going to come out of their pay. They're going to be the ones paying for it. It's not going to be covered under the U.S. military's medical system. Number two, sex change surgery will not be covered as well. It will be something you can't get when you're in active service. You're not taking weeks off because you decided to have your genitals altered. It's cosmetic surgery, which is what it should be considered.
Sneaky you, sneaky
by
you.
the way, Obamacare mandating
Genital altering
that
bastard.
is dumb. It's a cosmetic surgery, and the VA won't cover it either. Not that, I mean, who would go to the VA for anything at this point? With all the problems
piercings?
that have been had with the VA, would you really trust them to mess around with your junk? I don't think any sane person would, so I think that'd be more problematic. Probably
it's a
also
morphine joke.
costing more. It's like, just go to Mexico to get sex change surgery. Go to the Philippines or India or something. You're going to get a better procedure anyway. In the VA, you get like Legionnaire's disease if you just go in the building, so who cares?
That's horrible. This guy making all these jokes.
Make it clear. Therapy will be available to transgendered individuals, the same as those that aren't, but you won't be getting any extra therapy on top, again, paid for by taxpayer money. You're going to have to do everything any other soldier does. If any other soldier decides after their service to get cosmetic surgery, does the VA cover it? If they want their ears clipped, if they want some ass implants or something, does the VA cover that? No. It shouldn't cover sex change operations either. That should be something people, if you really feel compelled, you pay for it out of pocket. As far as hormone replacement, the U.S. government will get the estrogen or the testosterone for you, but you have to pay for it. It's coming out of your pay. And we're not going to give you a cent of subsidies for that. And that basically takes the economic issue off the table. And the fact that such a workaround could be employed is why it will be found unconstitutional. Because the government is constrained by the Constitution. We've already seen this with gay marriage and a half dozen other things. The government is required to make reasonable accommodations for individuals. Now, using the economic argument only works if there's no workaround. The fact that one exists is why it will be found unlawful by the Supreme Court when it eventually gets there. Now, it might take
I'm just going to interrupt here. Well, you know what SPQR stands for? Spartacus prefers quality Romans.
5 years, it might take 15.
I think that's what it means.
That's what'll happen. And once again, this has nothing to do with the moral side. Morally speaking, I say if someone wants to go get shot at and they're capable of holding a gun and running wearing body armor, does it really matter to me? No. And in this sense, I take up the same tack that I did on gay marriage back in the 90s. Now, keep in mind, mid-1990s, when, you know, the issue first becomes something that the average person is aware even exists, I was like, well, who cares? Who cares if gay people want to get married or cohabit or adopt a kid or whatever? Why, it doesn't affect me. Who cares? And at the time, only a slim minority of the U.S. population, even in the most liberal, states, thought that way. Let alone maybe if you went to Alabama or something. Most people at the time were still saying that if you even supported the idea, you must yourself be gay. And so it became problematic. But that was my feelings. I'm like, why do I even care about this? Why do I fucking care? I'm taking up the same line on transgendered issues. Someone who's transgendered wants to use the bathroom. Insofar as they're actually transgendered, who cares? Now, there will be creepy people who they do cross-dressing just to sneak into the girls' room and, put a pinhole camera in or something, and that has at several points now already been a problem. But if somebody is actually transgendered, who cares, essentially? I'm not sure that I do. And I know that that puts me in the small minority, once again, as it did with gay marriage. But I support liberty. I support freedom and common sense, and I have, I think, a more open mind than most when it comes to looking at legal arguments. Because of the lack of personal bias, because I don't really care if somebody's transgendered, nor did I care that they were gay. I don't care about many of these things. Because I don't give the argument any moral weight, and I just look at the legal recourse involved. I think I have a better picture than most about what will happen. Why do you think I predict things so easily? It's because oftentimes I'm talking about things that I don't really have strong feelings on. It doesn't evoke any sort of emotional response from me. So I can just step back, look at the situation as is, compare it to situations that have rough similarity, and see what is more likely to occur.
Interesting point he raises here. Sometimes he frankly says that he, Styx Hexenhammer, is ambivalent to the things. But I'm gonna break that down for you a little bit etymologically. Well, maybe not etymologically, maybe semantically would be a better word. His ambivalence is also his feeling of equality to most things because his standoffishness from them, his removedness, or whatever he wants to call it. If we were talking in, say, a hypothetical situation in a scientific, experimental fashion, i.e. in a thought experiment, we might sometimes use idealistic or idealized situations to describe that. And the first step of the logical pattern of this thought experiment would probably be saying something like all things or all other things being equal, meaning you can disregard the effects of air resistance and perhaps maybe not gravity, but maybe the only thing you need to worry about is gravity, and we'll assume all other things to be equal for the rest of the purpose of the experiment or the thought experiment or whatever. That's what his ambivalence, I think, really means. At the end of the day, I think he feels equal otherness from everything. He's not that he's an alien. It's that he recognizes where he begins and something else begins, like the difference between the two of their positions. So he tends to classify based on a larger general set of things which he knows to be more or less true, and figures it out from there. But that's his way of being equal with everybody. That's what he means by ambivalent.
That's why I know what's going on in the world, for people that are wondering how I do that. You don't need any sort of witchy voodoo stuff. It helps. It helps if you're studying ancient philosophy and you know about correlation and synchronicity in these things. That's certainly great. It certainly enhances that capability. But ultimately, it's about, are you yourself biased in a situation, or are you able to analyze it properly? Well, I can analyze this properly. This legal argument won't hold weight. It's going to get thrown out the window. And now, because you're taking up this tack on it, what's going to happen is that when the Supreme Court weighs in, they might determine, oh, well, the government, yeah, they need to supply hormones and stuff. Now, if you simply let people who are transgendered into the military and make it clear we're docking your pay, the cost of these if you want us to supply them, and you're going to need to have us supplying them if you want in, because we're not going to let you do self-medicating while you're in some fucking barracks somewhere. And therapy, you're getting the same amount as anyone else, no more, no less. That would be responsible. You get no additional privileges. You get no additional rights. We're not making any other general accommodations. You're a soldier now. You're government green. You're our fucking property, and you're going to do what you're told. As long as that happens, that may hold legal weight. That may be accepted by the courts, and they would say, yeah, that's perfectly fine. They're still getting access to these things and paying for themselves. And the government has said they're not, supplying taxpayer money for cosmetic surgery either during or after their role in the U.S. military. And that's what they should do. That's simply what should be done. Someone's transgendered, who cares? Can they fire a gun? Are they any good at what they're trying to do? Then, yeah, let them be a soldier. But you shouldn't be throwing taxpayer money
monster
at them,
can, man.
Above and beyond what any other soldier gets. It should be
Wish
all
had a
equal
BB
within
gun.
the U.S. military for that
Right in his
purpose.
aim.
Then there will be
He's
those
drinking even better.
who go well beyond the economic issue. And they'll
BB
say
rattling
something
around
to
in
the
the can
effect of,
after.
oh, well, they're mentally ill, so they shouldn't be allowed to serve. Well, they used to say that about homosexuals. You remember Don't Ask, Don't Tell? Did it hold up in court? Despite the fact that decades prior, people had widely agreed upon the fact that homosexuality was a mental illness. The medical establishment did. The psychiatric establishment from the 60s or 70s said, yeah, they're mentally ill. They're nuts. We should give them electroshock or something. That passes by the wayside. They still attempt to keep them out of the U.S. military. It doesn't work. DOMA didn't work. Don't Ask, Don't Tell didn't work. The concept of discriminating against a class of people who should be considered equal if they're able to do the equal job, it doesn't work. We're not talking about private entities here. We're talking about the U.S. government. They are more specifically constrained by the concept of the 13th and in this case, I would say to a degree, really the Fourth Amendments. And so that's how it will be construed. They'll say, well, what business is it of Uncle Sam's whether the soldier's taking hormones unless they can show compelling evidence that it's interfering with their duties as a soldier?
I mean,
they're paying for it themselves.
It's a funny question. I mean, I can think of one other YouTuber, Sticks, and I'm going to have to send him a message perhaps or a comment on the video to make this point. There's one other YouTuber I know who is ex-military and who's male and who's taking a testosterone replacement therapy. So, that's a hormone therapy. You get me? Like if you have a soldier who happens to be male and who already needs more testosterone than they already are producing in their own body, then why wouldn't that be covered? And if it is covered, why wouldn't the person who's trans also be covered? So, interesting. I'm going to put the note in at 9:50 for this. Let's see if it doesn't change your ambivalence a little. Suppose a soldier who identifies as male, not transgendered, needs testosterone. Shouldn't he, well, wouldn't he be covered? And how would that be different from much the same way? I.e. hormone replacement or hormone therapies are pretty common. Not that expensive. Oh, that's the comment left.
Cares. And ultimately, that duty, soldiers taking hormones unless they can show compelling evidence that it's interfering with their duties as a soldier. They're paying for it themselves. Who cares? And ultimately, that's the way they will rule.
Yeah, I got to call hot on what you're saying and ask you another question to see if it doesn't change your ambivalence a little. Suppose a soldier who identifies as male, not transgendered, needs testosterone replacement therapy. Wouldn't he be covered, and how would that be different from a transgendered male who needs it much the same way? Person, like, i.e. a transgendered male who's undergone sex change from female to male and needs testosterone for the rest of their life to make it, work. They would have probably started hormone therapy before they had the surgery, if you get me.
That's my prediction anyway. It could be wrong, but so far I have no reason to believe that I'm going to be wrong. Well, it's going to be like gays in the military. gay marriage, or any of these other so-called moral arguments.
Mostly,
Divorce
why would it
yourself
be?
from the moral context. You can get a feel for the legal ramifications more easily. That's what you need to do. It'll be ruled unconstitutional, I say. And really, there's such an easy workaround to this. You don't need to make it a national
by the
moral
way,
issue.
don't bother
It
entering
doesn't
this in
have to
the
be
web.
a
You
partisan
won't get
issue. It
anywhere.
doesn't have to be a moral issue. It doesn't have to be a fucking national conversation. Every time somebody in the government gets it into their head that some group of people is incapable of performing the same tasks as some other group of people, give them equality of possibility. Let them submit themselves to Uncle Sam. They want to go off and die in some fucking godforsaken desert, who cares? By the way, there's an additional ramification I don't know anyone has mentioned, so I'll mention it here. Does this not set up the same scenario we had with Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is to say that people, if you ever reinstituted a draft, would take some estrogen or take some testosterone and say, well, you can't draft me. I'm not allowed to serve. I can't even be in a non-combat role. I don't even have to be a conscientious objector. I'm transitioning to another gender. Wouldn't that be a problem? I would think that it would be. All of a sudden, when people start manufacturing their own homemade estrogen pills or something like that, start injecting themselves with cow sperm in order to gain testosterone or some other weird shit. They used to implant monkey testicles into people, believe it or not. They thought that it would give them more testosterone. Yeah, didn't work exactly. Often got gangrenous and caused death, but they thought it was a good idea at the time. And it's quackery. And you'd probably get a wave of quackery if you ever tried to reinstitute the draft and you got a class of people that's not allowed to serve. Someone says, well, I don't want to serve. I'll just inject some estrogen for the next month. I'll show up and I'll say, yeah, you want to sign up? And then they'll put me down. Like, I won't even wait for them to try to draft me. I'll just show up myself with, boobs and stuff and say, well, yeah, I'm transgendered, but you should, hey, hush it up. I want to serve. And then when they turn you away and give you a paper saying not eligible, you say, oh, I guess I never have to serve in the U.S. military again. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, are John McCain's offspring going to do that the next time around, the next time there's a war? Because they're offspring of John McCain.
He does not like
maybe.
John McCain.
That's about all. Peace out.
He had to throw in a John McCain joke at the end there just to stick him. Wow.
All right, everyone, the glorious leaders of the Democratic Party, that is Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and sometimes Tom Perez. It's not even clear. He, never goes out in public. I wonder why. They want to convince you, going into the midterms, that the Democrats have sound proposals to make jobs, sound proposals to get the middle class working again, to fix the economy. Now, isn't this the same Democratic Party? Like, Obama's running. He says, well, it's irresponsible to have all this debt spending and the deficit keeps going up, and we're going to try to get these middle-class jobs back. Blah, 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 blah. And it never happens, and for 8 years the economy just hemorrhages. The jobs that were created barely kept up with the new high unemployment level, so that it was like a zero-sum game. 100,000 people are born, 100,000 jobs were created or something. So that there was no real net gain, unemployment remained high, and most of those jobs were sub-living wage. We're talking, at the very best, a working-class job was created. Most of them were, hey, you work 20 hours a week flipping burgers, and by the way, Obama just says, oh, well, we're not going to count all those people that just stopped looking for work because they just got tired of job searching, and they're like, I'm just going to live under a bridge. And they don't even count them as unemployed anymore because they're not drawing unemployment or something, or some bullshit like that. The Democrats are hoping you'll ignore that, though. They're hoping that you'll ignore the fact that since Trump got into office, we've had record gains in the stock market. We have begun adding more jobs than were ever added under Obama, that some of those jobs are actually middle-class jobs and not just flipping burger jobs. No disrespect to anyone who flips burgers. But someone who's 60 years old, they shouldn't have to do that. They've got, decades of experience in some job. They can't find anything in their field. They got like a double master's degree. They have to work at Walmart. That economy just doesn't work. And the Democrats' big thing earlier on was, hey, you should vote for us. Trump is a bigot, and you're irredeemable and deplorable and an evil racist bigot, too, if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton. You want to suppress women. You don't want to break the glass ceiling. Shame, shame, shame on you. You want to see minority communities screwed over. Meanwhile, the silent juggernaut of the Hispanic vote starts leaning more towards red. You know, Mitt Romney, who was boring as hell but ultimately a total open border moderate, he drew in like 3-4 points less in the Hispanic vote than Trump did. And the Democrats are so worried. Tara McCarthy makes a video, Texas will be the next California, based on demographics. I totally disagree. I couldn't disagree with you more. I gotta disagree with her on this one. It's not gonna become the next California. Not in any way, not even with immigrants from California. That's going to stay red for quite some time. If it goes blue, it'll be because the Democrats changed their platform. But you look at what Pelosi and Schumer are saying, they haven't changed their platform. It's still the same empty jargon about wanting to save the middle class in the country. You had years and years to try to do that. Trump gets in office, hey, the middle class is starting to trickle back. As we speak, right now, things are improving. You know why the Rust Belt abandoned the Democratic Party? I'll give you a few very simplistic reasons
to get to the other side.
Democrats don't even have the ability to wrap their heads around. Number one, it's not a great idea to assume all white people are inherently racist and make that a campaign platform. Yeah, that doesn't really work. It doesn't really turn you on to white voters.
Number one.
Number two, saying, oh, illegals are wonderful people, illegals this, illegal that, bigoted Trump, doesn't help you with legal immigrants that are actually voting. Didn't help you with the Hispanic vote. Number three, the Obama recovery that happened in the coasts and in large cities never actually helped the Rust Belt. They didn't see any recovery. Some of those areas are still essentially ghost towns. Our recovery here in Rutland was mild. It was it took us years and years and years to make up lost ground in housing. We still haven't fully recovered on the business front. There are still empty businesses here. It's not as bad as it was at the peak of the recession. Like right after Bush left, the first few years of Obama, it looked like, you know, we had suffered a Black Death or something. It was so empty. It was massively fucked. Now things are, you know, gotten somewhat better, but it's not because we added a bunch of middle class or factory labor or even a significant number of working class jobs. You look in the classifieds, most of it's still low wage. So yeah, the homes are inhabited by people who are more poor than they were before. They're working at jobs where they have to work more hours to make the same amount as they used to. That's the problem. And the Democrats don't care. Or at least the perception is they didn't care. They just wanted to browbeat people based on Trump is mean, Trump is bigoted. It's not a campaign platform. What did you do for the middle class? For all the years under Obama, what did you do for them? Absolutely butt-fuck nothing except raise taxes a little bit on people, throw them shitty healthcare, and now the only reason why Obamacare now has tipped over 50% popularity is because the first attempt to get rid of it involved Paul Ryan. That's really the reason, because Paul Ryan is a moron. He's a fool. Trump's no moron. And he knows how to create jobs. He does. I said that all throughout the campaign. I had no problem with his economic proposals. I think if he institutes his tax plan, it'll be morning in America again. I just hope the other Republicans are capable of getting it through their thick skulls that it's a good idea. You know, you've failed for the third time on getting rid of the ACA.
People.
Why don't you switch tactics? It's not too late to do that.
You
still got another year and a half before midterms. Do something substantial before then.
Yeah.
That will actually ingratiate you even more to the Rust Belt. You'll be sitting pretty. Come the midterms, the Democrats won't stand a chance. All you got to do is pass comprehensive tax reform.
HVR.
Simplify the tax code, lower the rate, especially for the working and middle class. They really need it. And get more entrepreneurs and more small businesses to grow in the country. That's all you have to do. It would be so easy. Invoke the nuclear option if you have to get that passed. Go ahead and invoke the nuclear option. Leave the Democratic Party hemorrhaging. You think that Nancy Pelosi, of all people, is capable of formulating a counter strategy to that? When even more of the working class abandons the Democrats? The Democratic Party over the last few years has become more religious, more reliant upon corporations to fund their political campaigns, more reliant upon racial and sex-based wedge issues.
They've
largely forsaken economic arguments because they've realized they've already lost them. But the Republicans so far haven't bothered to put forth their own economic argument to capitalize upon that fact. You can, it'd be easy. The wall's great. Trump, by the way, is doing a pretty good job. Disagreements that I've had with him, CIA black sites and so forth aside, despite those, he's doing a good job. He's not Adolf Hitler. He's not Richard Nixon even. People keep saying that about him. It's just
He isn't even
not
Nixon?
the case. You have to be addled by propaganda to think that it is. He's more like a Dwight Eisenhower than any of these other things.
Well,
it's like Congress
there's a bit of a
decides,
stretch.
hey, we're going to piss off the Iran. Here's the funny
he's more like a Dwight Eisenhower.
Congress, including some
I'd like an
Democratic
explanation on
support,
that.
says, fuck
I
the
really
Iranian.
would. Like, I gotta demand one.
Just not the case. You have to be addled by propaganda to think that it is.
Unpacking? I'm going to say unboxing, not unpacking. Unboxing. You're going to have to spend more time unboxing that one, Sticks. How is he anywhere close to Eisenhower? Because he went to a military prep school, not West Point, and not Vietnam either.
He's more like a Dwight Eisenhower than any of these other things. It's like Congress decides, hey, we're going to piss off the Iran. Here's the funny part.
He preaches about as much as
Congress,
Dwight did,
including some Democratic support, says, fuck the Iranians. After a lot of these same people sided with Obama on wanting to withdraw those.
Then again,
and the
so did
reason why
Obama.
they've done this is simply because Trump didn't
For
want
a
to
lawyer.
sanction them more. He's like, well, why
He was the Atticus
sanctions
fucking
in North
Finch, what
Korea?
the hell?
Yeah, maybe, but Iran and
Atticus
the Russian
was a
issue,
deacon
why?
in the
Why
local church
bother?
as well, Jim.
Trump's trying to repair our relationship to stave off a Cold War. And you've got people within the Republican Party who claim that, oh, Trump's our president, actually siding against him to start the Cold War anew. Now, they're doing this for corporate
I knew I was
profit.
doing something wrong.
But the Democrats do it too.
Oh,
I wonder how many Democratic partisans have realized that their parties totally abandoned the issues that it fought for 10 years ago. Obama says, well, this surveillance, domestic surveillance is a little bit of a problem. I think this is problematic. And then he retains it and expands it. Oh, the Patriot Act, is kind of a problem. He retains it. Oh, all this torture stuff needs to fall by the wayside. And we find out that we're still torturing people until late into his second term. We need to stop pissing off our allies. And then he spies on the Germans and everything else under the sun. What did Obama get right? There's a reason why he was a failed
When did
president.
Obama get right?
And he was.
Where did we
he
go
looked
right?
stellar
Where did we
among
go
some
right? That's
people
the
thought he looked
producers.
stellar
He's-
because they were
he's quoting
comparing
fucking
him with W.
producers.
And because they happen to be partisans. Really, at the end of the day, they're the same friggin' thing. And you think Chuck Schumer and
Yeah,
Nancy Pelosi
not him.
care about some
The
poor
ones he's talking
person
about.
in this country? Especially if they happen to be male and or white? Oh, they hate them then because they don't vote for them at high enough levels. It's like when CNN or the Young Turks or any of these broadcasts, right after the election. Oh, white women are to blame for the Trump problem. Damn those white women. Those evil white women being all racist and stuff, voting for, someone
their men
who
go out
isn't
and
running
do
on the
things like
single
vote.
issue of, hey, I've got ovaries. They used to work. Please vote for me. Yeah, why is the Democratic Party suffering right now? They're going to suffer more in the midterms. They're not going to take back the House and the Senate at this rate. They make a vacuous platform with some idiot slogan that rips off Papa John's. They think that that's a campaign platform. It's only the very beginning of even trying to build a campaign platform. What are the Democrats expecting to do? They're going to have all their candidates out there saying, hey, we're the anti-Trump party. Hey, shake some hands, kiss some babies, and they'll vote for you. We ran ads on TV. What do the ads say? Oh, we're not the other guys. Vote for us. That's basically what it boils down to. And it's just so moronic. It's almost unfathomable that even like the Democrats, why do they even let people like Schumer and Pelosi talk to them in the first place? Like, why would you want Nancy Pelosi, of all people, to give a speech about how great your party is? Has she not been a total miserable failure for years now? I would think it'd be time to get someone in there that actually knows how to talk to people and come off at least be perceived as kind of authentic. If nothing else, you can be a dumbass, but if you look inauthentic, that's a bigger problem than being a dumbass. Hell, it's even a bigger problem than being corrupt. You get someone like Rob Ford running an office. Yeah, I smoke a little crack. I get drunk constantly. People fucking love it because at least he seems authentic.
Vermont. See, he's in Vermont. He's close enough to know about Rob Ford.
People labeled him more authentic. Hillary Clinton hid everything under the sun. Everything about her was like shrouded. She didn't want to talk to people. She didn't even want to hold rallies towards the end. Wisconsin, I don't need to campaign in Wisconsin. One poll from 2 months ago had me up 4 or 5 points. Why should I go to Wisconsin? That's why you lost. I probably should have taken that into consideration when I made my election predictions. I didn't expect Trump to win Wisconsin either. I thought Hillary Clinton would squeak out with it. Got Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Virginia right, though. People thought that was pretty funny. And New Hampshire.
Pennsylvania.
And Florida. It'd take a little
that one surprised the shit out of me, but yeah, I just can't call it.
Wisconsin, I mean, goodness, even Michigan looked like a safer bet for Trump than Wisconsin there. He wins that too. He wipes her out in the Rust Belt. And the Democrats don't have an answer for this problem because right now the neoliberals are like a weird fusion of leftist economics that aren't popular. You know, let alone what maybe young people too young to vote think about the idea of socialism because some of them are brainwashed. They've lost on economics. They lose on wedge issues. Even like the transgendered military stuff. One thing I didn't mention, I probably should have. I'm in the minority in my opinions on that. Trump actually scores a win by banning transgendered people in the military. Maybe not long term as I predict, but certainly for right now, that's a popular idea. The Democrats are going to make that into a platform too. I don't think it's going to work for them. It wouldn't be something to campaign on, but they're dumb enough to think it is. Oh, we want transgendered people in the military, and we want more middle-class jobs. How we're going to actually get the latter, we can't tell you, because we had 8 years to do that and never did. But just trust us, you dumb fucks. Just vote for Nancy Pelosi's party. Woohoo! It's so exciting. That's about all. Peace out.
I'm going to get the link off this video before I go switching to the next one. Here it comes.
Alright everyone, Donald Trump dared to be popular among Boy Scouts, you know, the Boy Scouts being, the marginally traditionalist group within the United States, dedicated towards teaching aspects of the art of survival, and things like that. If you've never read Ernest Thompson Seton's sort of big guide to Boy Scouting, it's actually a fascinating read. My grandpa gave me a copy years and years ago, and that really helps with the identification of some more common fungi, certain plant species, especially trees. It's really a helpful guide, teaches you, here's how to build a fire, here's how to build a rudimentary shelter, stuff like that. It's pretty good. It even has some like folk remedies for various ailments in there. It's extremely interesting work. It's also massive. It's like a tome. But he goes to the Jamboree there, Trump does, and there's about 40,000 people by press estimates, which is a pretty large
all
crowd.
In uniform with
a lot
like
of his rallies were in the election.
And
those were pretty
goddamn
large.
kerchiefs and crap.
It's certainly more than Hillary Clinton ever talked to at one time. This Jamboree, that is, which I think that's
Good
probably
joke.
what they have a problem with, because he continues to draw large crowds. Even if it's because he might say off-the-wall shit and people are going mostly to be entertained. Way better to be an entertaining blowhard than to be like a dour, very boring, corrupt career politician like Hillary Clinton or something like that. So what happens? Trump gets, tens of thousands of young people together wearing uniforms. Cue the comparisons to the Hitler Youth. Yes, that is true. Indeed, if the President of the United States mentions loyalty, one of the pillars of the Boy Scouts, and talks about vaguely political stuff a few times during his speech, that's all they're going to fixate on there. Say, oh, he's holding political youth rallies. He's going to turn the Boy Scouts into the Hitler Jugend or something like that. That's not what's happening. He's simply popular among people who like the outdoors. And they like that sort of traditional feel, and they want to build the campfire, and they want to go fishing and stuff. Yeah, I can't imagine why they wouldn't have wanted Obama among them. Yeah, probably because Obama would be chugging the mosquito repellent. Oh, this will keep him off me. Don't worry, folks, I'll be fine, he says as he gets totally intoxicated. Yeah, can you imagine Obama going camping? That would be a funny thing. And in all honesty, Trump is white-collar, blue-blooded American nobility, so he's not exactly the out-in-the-woods kind of person either.
No.
You know, he considers the White House or Camp David to be rustic, according to his standards. But at least he's interesting. And he didn't come to talk down to the Boy Scouts. If Obama had gone at all, he would have talked about gay rights and transgenderism and other social topics like that. He probably would have ended up talking down to them.
Oh, just cover that up.
You should let girls into the Boy Scouts. You know, that big thing that you had with gay scouting, that was a real dark time in American history. Oh, I hope that you'll help little old ladies cross the street whether or not they've got a Y chromosome or something like that. That's what Obama would have done. There's a reason he never went to a Boy Scout rally. Trump, meanwhile, he doesn't care about that stuff. He's like, oh yeah, we could use some more loyalty in the country. And of course, everybody thought that he meant loyalty to him. Here, let me ask you a question. If a similar speech had been made by, like, Dwight Eisenhower, JFK or something, would that be your immediate assumption, or would you assume they were talking about the country and the Constitution? Probably the latter. But the thing is that people are already convinced that Trump is Orange Hitler, so it doesn't really matter if that's what he meant. That's what it's going to be taken as by people who don't like him. And it's just a farce. He went to a Boy Scout rally. He had a good time. He eats some Franks and beans. He's a germaphobe, so he probably put isopropyl alcohol in everything he ate, honestly. But he didn't talk down to anybody other than, you know, politicians or something. It makes some off-the-cuff remarks about what appears to have been Jeff Sessions. So who cares? Yeah, like a bunch of Boy Scouts, like, they can't find that interesting. For a lot of people, Trump has made politics, at the very least, tolerably entertaining, which is something that people like Bush and Obama never did. Other people had to do that. Somebody on the radio, somebody on the internet had to make it entertaining. Trump makes it entertaining on his own. He tweets constantly. It's fun. It also helps scoop the lamestream legacy dying yellow journalists of the old guard press, and that's even funnier, seeing their reactions. He's attacking the First Amendment. He's attacking the rights of the pre-press. No, he's not. No, he's just scooping you because he finds it funny, and more power to him for doing that. So I find this totally innocuous. If a similar speech with similar references to loyalty and obedience and stuff had been made by any other political figure who wasn't Trump, nobody would have a problem with it. They'd just say, oh, large Boy Scout rally, governor eats Franks and beans, Senator what's-his-name hangs out for the day, goes canoeing or something. They would have focused on the positive aspects, probably, of that. Maybe they would have brought up in the sort of a postscript, they would have said, oh, but the Boy Scouts ultimately are a chauvinistic and bigoted organization or something like that. Not chauvinistic and bigoted. It's just like a boys' club. That's what it is. What's wrong with that? Well, you don't see Boy Scouts trying to join the Girl Scouts. Apparently people have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. Let them do whatever they want. They're a private organization. As far as Trump talking to them, and they happen to be in uniform, so people were posting pictures of Hitler Youth rallies and overlapping them, putting them side by side. Oh, then and now. Haha, Trump is the next Hitler. See? Hitler drank water. Trump drinks water. Need I say more? That's essentially what the logic boils down to. It's so dumb. It's so completely dumb. What has Trump specifically done to convince you that he's a fascist? Can I get anybody to provide me a rational and sane explanation for this? I don't mean, oh, Trump held out his arm once and it kind of sort of looked like a Sieg Heil salute. That's not what I mean. I don't mean Trump talked to young people who happened to be in uniform and then said something about loyalty. Doesn't count, not interested, not compelling enough to me. No, I mean something sane. I don't mean, oh, Trump
this is the guy who used to be a Satanist, is demanding sanity.
A more beefy military, therefore he must be gearing up for World War III. He's going to purge all the Third Worlders or something. Trump temporarily bans people from a handful of majority Islamic nations, therefore he's also he's an Islamophobic fascist. You know, and stuff like,
You know what I
no,
need
that's
is
not
like
what I
a
mean. I mean a real
nose
concrete
clip
reason
right
why.
here, just a small little clip.
I don't mean, oh,
That'd be
Hitler,
perfect.
I don't mean his ex-wife's claims that he slept with a book of Hitler quotes by his bed. Okay, were there other books there? Maybe he also had one of Chairman Mao quotes. They just found them interesting.
Like
Historical reading or something. He slept next to the Declaration of Independence, so he must want to own slaves like Thomas Jefferson did. Or so. That's how they would construe it. Anything he does, they immediately warp it out of all context. But we shouldn't be surprised at this, because the old guard media has done this for some time. And it's not just Trump that they've done it to. They've done it to other people, too. They just happen to find it easier to do to Trump because normally, even if a politician gets flack from the mainstream press, they're also willing to give interviews to the mainstream press. So they're willing to modulate themselves a bit. They're willing to hold back a few of the punches. And they play nice with the politician. The politician plays nice with them. They interview. They jab each other occasionally, and that's basically all that happens. Clinton did that. Clinton would take swipes at the press. He even had a problem a couple times with CNN, but ultimately they sort of got along. Trump comes in. He's like, yeah, I'm not even going to talk to him. I can just use Twitter. Well, I don't need them to be my intermediaries to take my message to the people. I can give it to them unfiltered and raw. And so, oh, he's attacking the First Amendment. He's also doing youth rallies. Oh no, the Hitler Youth has returned. Yes, that is a perfectly logical explanation. Couldn't be that he just looked at it as a rally of people who generally seemed to like him. They were they were booing Obama in the crowd. He wasn't the one that instigated it. They apparently thought that was fun. And they were saying, yeah, we love Trump, we love Trump. Well, maybe they just like him. Maybe it's because of the location this jamboree was being held in and its proximity to a lot of deep red areas. Yeah, like if he went to talk to the Boy Scouts in New York City, you know, the ones that think that Central Park is the wilderness or something. Would he get as warm a reception? Yeah, probably not. Well, they're part of the same organization. It's a different branch thereof. What's the problem? I'm not seeing any. I think it was perfectly appropriate. As far as him talking politics, did anybody complain? Did anybody in the Boy Scouts, complain? As a private organization that wanted to host him there at the Jamboree. Did anybody there, did any of the scouts themselves say, oh, I hated having to see Trump come talk to us. Well, I had to cry all the way home. Or did nobody care? It was entertaining. They had to see the President of the United States. Doesn't matter whether it's Trump or not. They probably would have enjoyed hosting Obama, too, at the time, if he had bothered to go to one, even if he was going to talk down to them. They still would have said, well, I got to see the President of the United States. Yeah, it's an interesting story. They get older, and, you know, they're talking to a coworker. They're talking to significant others, saying, yeah, I shook Trump's hand once. He came to a Boy Scout jamboree. It's something that they can talk about. It's interesting. It's exciting for them. As opposed to some really, really lame career politician. They'd sit there and mumble their whole speech. They don't know anything about anything, really. All they know how to do is get elected. So I'm not surprised that they gave him a warm reception. And as for comparisons to being a Hitler Youth rally, that's just so off the wall, dude. It's just so totally wrong. Anyone, I would hope even the average liberal could see through that.
So, R.E. Is it really that obtuse or extreme? I mean, in response to totally off the wall. The reason I say so... little use for the unity
Come on, there's got to be a point at which this propaganda becomes so fantastic that even somebody who wants to believe it has to shake their head a little bit. There has to be some point at which that threshold is achieved. Have you not achieved it already? Trump hired Russian hookers to piss on the Obama's bed. Trump is restarting the Hitler Youth.
No.
I think that's a little bit out there. But then again, that's just me, and who's going to take that seriously? After all, I don't have a journalism degree and a 7-figure salary, so apparently the opinion matters less to some people in this country. That's about all. Peace out.
Yeah, what happens to atheists is an honest enough question. We're going over to Hard Bastard, who recorded this just a little bit earlier. Released it today. I guess he must have recorded it yesterday, more than likely. I haven't upvoted this yet. 365 on 4305. That's behind the 10% norm.
Here's another example of people playing out of the bullshit playbook. And before we get into the video by Ben Dixon, I want to read the article written by Caitlin Johnston. And I want to go over this and be as calm and reasonable as possible.
As he's doing this,
because I think that what's happening
the video
is people are playing out of the bullshit playbook.
I mean,
to
the
try
camera.
to attack independent
So you get an idea of
media.
how it is I've got this effect.
Signaling and the past tweets of Mike Cernovich and trying to apply them to Caitlin Johnston.
Scan lines
that is
first.
a ridiculous standard that no one would agree to on their own. It's complete fucking bullshit. And so let's go over
then
the
there's
article
a recolor,
that has caused so much
like a color balance
controversy.
recoloring,
And
which
granted,
makes it,
this is pretty much bullshit.
75%
This is
or thereabouts
manufactured
opaque.
virtue signaling by people who want
See,
to
the scan
suck
lines
at the
still
teat
work
of
rather well
corporate
with
media,
this.
or as I put it, suck at the cock of corporate media.
And I kept that as a separate
And
layer.
so they just look at a target, they see that there's some dogpiling, and then they'll
for chroma key.
Lefties need to
get this
stop
green
being
screen out of the
shy
room.
about working with the anti.
I got real cute.
Now, I'm not a lefty. Some people consider me a conservative. I am to the right of crazy. I would say that. That's my position. I was once on the left, I was once a liberal, and everyone went crazy, and now I'm to the right of crazy. That's how I categorize myself.
I'm letting him talk.
I do
here.
agree with people like Lionel Nation.
So the green screen is its own layer.
Labels. I agree with that. I think
before
that's
I got
what
it to go
Caitlin's
green,
arguing for.
I turned
and
it
she's being
blue.
attacked for it,
And when I
which
turn
is
it blue,
interesting.
I get a
because
way better.
Who is the one group that would
composite
not
of
want
colours for the
people
front
to unite against
for me
them?
in the foreground.
Corporate media.
And I can make a better blue screen.
Whenever an
than I had green
Antifa-minded
screen.
lefty gets all huffy about
then
my
I
having
remove
used the conservative
the blue,
source in one of my arguments, I simply
recolor it
take
back,
that as their way of informing me that they're more interested
add the
in
effect
vanity,
and the scan
vanity politics
Isn't that
than
awesome?
in actually getting
Isn't that
anything
so
done.
cool?
That's a very good phrase.
That's how this is
vanity
done.
politics. That's exactly what this is. Virtue signaling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see these
HB, I'm sorry.
more lefty than you reject everything to the right of Marx lefties as functionally identical to Clintonists because they're plugged into the exact same corporate media fueled divisiveness that's going to get us all killed. If spitting on everything that doesn't perfectly align with your exact personal ideology is more important to you than overthrowing the unelected power establishment that's shoving us toward a world war with a nuclear superpower, your entire worldview is garbage. How the fuck did Ben Dixon read this article and make this fucked up video that we're going to completely go over and eviscerate?
Truth.
And again, we're going to put it on Hard News Network because I don't know anything about Ben Dixon, and I don't know if he's the type to file bullying and harassment claims. So we're just going to be safe because a lot of these corporate motherfuckers are bitches, and we'll do that shit. Some of them aren't so far. David Pakman, I've made like 8 videos about. I haven't heard anything. Sam Cedar, haven't had any bullying and harassment strikes. So even though that's a low bar, that, oh, you're not a complete piece of shit. That's the bar we're operating at. Well, you have to give them, respect for not going the route of at least what the circumstantial evidence shows with George Sheridan. Let's continue. The true left does not have the numbers to defeat the homicidal, ecocidal oligarchy that's threatening to push our species into the company of the dinosaurs. Not even close. The 2016 election cycle woke a lot of people up to the corruption of the elites, and its fallout made the deep state into a household term. But most Americans more or less ended up falling in along the same partisan line as always, and remain there to this day. If you think you can leftist your way out of this mess, you are wrong. Because that isn't where the political momentum is moving right now. It's true that socialism has more public support in America than it has in decades. But so do libertarianism, nationalism, anarcho-capitalism, and paleoconservatism. The political energy isn't trending left. It's trending away from the center. Adam Johnson,
Yes.
hey, it's another banal horseshoe theory take in the Washington Post by Never Trump's favorite neocon, new chronologist. Michael Tracy, roll out Mark Penn to voice the last dying screeches of the Clintonite center left is fitting. Another Michael Tracy, there is virtually no difference between the neocon critique of Trump, Russia, and the common Dem critique. And of course it is. What passes for the center in American politics today is two increasingly indistinguishable political parties which both aggressively push for exploitive neoliberal policies at home and bloodthirsty neoconservative policies abroad. So people are scrambling away from it toward whether the nearest emergency, or toward whatever's the nearest emergency exit. Even if they haven't done enough research to clearly articulate why they feel the way they feel, they know they're being screwed over, and they know they're sick of the fake pundits and politicians on TV who are clearly lying to them. Both Republican and Democrat think tanks have been acutely aware of this trend for some time now, and since their loyalty to the power establishment forbids them from simply changing their approach to policy, they've been hard at work trying to rope the anti-establishment movements on both ends back into the fold. Many Sanders voters have been lulled into backing the Democratic Party's platform of Russiaphobic gibberish with the help of Sanders himself, to the point where whenever anyone indicates a debate with the phrase, "I voted for Bernie," you can be 100% certain that they're about to parrot an establishment-friendly line that were taught by the corporate media propaganda machines. Here's Bernie Sanders himself doing that. Russia's meddling in our election. When Trump meets with Putin, he must make clear interference is unacceptable and must never happen again. The think tanks are also acutely aware that there is still a lot of stigma attached to the notion of collaborating with the other side of the ideological spectrum, and they exploit this to no end. Exploiting it to no end. Interest in the phrase horseshoe theory, for example, reached an all-time high this year as establishment pundits used that concept to try to shame the anti-establishment left back into the fold by proclaiming that leftists are becoming the same as the cartoonist, racist caricatures they've been trained to believe Trump supporters are. My own work gets criticized by establishment loyalists in this way on a daily basis. They point to the fact that I oppose things like U.S. interventionism in Syria and the establishment narrative about Russia, and then use that fact that the anti-establishment right opposes these things, as well as to imply that this makes me identical to the most vitriolic white supremacists of the alt-right. It's fucking bullshit. Some lunatic on Twitter said to Tim Black some shit like, "If you don't denounce Caitlyn Johnson, then you're right-wing." Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious? Tim Black is right-wing because, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. You do not get to create people's political beliefs. That's not how the shit works. So take a right-wing position. Okay, take the defending of police in the majority of cases. That generally happens on the right. Tim Black doesn't do that. And so because he would not basically jump through the hoop you want him to jump through, then suddenly that's his position, that he's pro-militarizing the police? Get the fuck out of here. That doesn't even make sense. It's not logical. You're playing from the bullshit playbook. It makes no fucking sense. I am writing this article today to say that this tactic doesn't work on me, and it shouldn't work on you either. We lefties need to attack the establishment at every turn and circulate awareness of what's really happening in the world. And when this means collaborating with the right wing, we should do it. Is there anything in here so far that's unreasonable? The only people that would have an issue with this are people that are supporting the neocons, the corporate media, or inadvertently playing from from the playbook. Some people play from the playbook because they have an extreme amount of white guilt. One of the things that white people don't generally talk about a lot, because they don't like to talk about these things. They like to run away from them. They're only comfortable when they're thought of as completely, totally not racist. But one of the things that white people don't talk about a lot is that they are a lot of times raised with this coddling approach to black people that's insulting and embarrassing to black people. And I think that's where some of this virtue signaling stems from. Now, you might even argue that that's from a good place. Like, oh, they just want to be nice to people that were treated poorly in the past. Well,
yeah, but
that might come from a good place, but it still ends up being very disrespectful.
Of the present.
And it plays into the whole soft bigotry of low expectations. That's one of the reasons I think there is so much virtue signaling on the internet. That there are people that are putting their white guilt before sound policy. So no matter what, they are like, okay, I have a choice. I can either join in with the anti-establishment shit, and maybe some people, mostly corporate retards, will think I'm racist or Islamophobic, or I can sit back, throw all of that under the bus, even though we're talking about formulating against a group that's trying to start a war with Russia.
They ain't gonna work.
No, I will instead stay back here where the corporate masters want me to be, and I will choose my feelings that as long as someone doesn't consider me racist, I'm happy. As long as someone doesn't consider me Islamophobic, I'm happy. Do you understand that there are evil people who are taking advantage of you? It's the same people that they're scared to talk about Islam because the lobby, the Muslim lobby has done a great job of making it seem as though, oh, well, you have any issue with anything in Islam, you're clearly Islamophobic. Corrupt political powers do shit like this. The Israeli lobby does the same thing. Oh, you criticize Israeli settlements? You are part of BDS? You should go to prison for 20 years. It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. Now, for some reason, they think that they could bully Caitlyn. I don't know why. I find it odd that, well, see, this is the thing. I never presented myself as a progressive, so I don't think, perhaps if I presented myself as a progressive, I would get some of this heat too. I don't know. I don't give a fuck because I believe all of the shit that I say can be supported by evidence. My believing that religions are much like cults are based off of my experience of being in a cult, escaping from a cult, doing cult interventions. And also, the reason I believe, for example, Islam is a cult is because of my experience, my research on Islam, my talking to ex-Muslims who have escaped the cult. My reasoning is very sound, and I am happy to be challenged on it. If someone wants to try to proclaim that I'm an Islamophobe, you can come on and we can have a discussion. Because I am fully ready to defend what I say about whether it's Islam, Christianity, anything else. But it seems like people think it's effective to use these tactics against people. But they're ignoring reality. They're ignoring the facts. Again, this video, when we go over it, is about this article. And how do you even get 4 paragraphs in and don't understand what the fuck she's saying and what is on the line in this? You realize what's on the line here. Do you disagree with her? Do you disagree with the neocons trying to get a war with Russia? I think that's been well established. Here we go. We lefties need to attack the establishment at every turn and circulate awareness of what's really happening in the world. And when this means collaborating with the right wing, we should do it. The media war has reached its hottest point ever, for example, and we should be unapologetically teaming up with everyone who hates CNN to kick it while it's down. I fully support this and agree. Getting sidetracked by ideological vanity politics just because the other groups don't share our views on fiscal policy can spoil a perfect opportunity to strike a fight-changing blow to the propaganda machine when it's at its most vulnerable. I made a tweet a couple hours ago about this U.S. warmongering in the mainstream media, and according to my notifications, the very first person to retweet it was alt-light hero Mike Cernovich. The other thing about all of this is people are purposely, willfully ignorant. They will not allow people like Mike Cernovich to make clear what his beliefs are. Okay? I don't agree with everything Mike Cernovich posts, but the people claiming that he's a Nazi and a neo-Nazi, you simply don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. There are people who are right-wing, there are people who are new right, there are people who are alt-right, and they all have different beliefs. And you look idiotic when you assign a person a position that they do not have. Mike Cernovich is not a white nationalist. Mike Cernovich is not against the intermixing of races.
Here we go. I think the thing we need to bear in mind whenever anybody starts yelling "Nazis" is the chances are that's projection more than any actual proper labeling, especially if it's directed at certain groups on the right. They don't understand, even they refuse to understand how the Nazi Party did its thing back in the 30s, which was the left was organizing itself against the communists, as well as the communists essentially. So to keep the population happy and to keep the workers under control, the left took over all the unions, or should we say National Socialism did. And there was a type of National Socialism in the United States too.
Persian. Anyway, regardless. You just look stupid when you say shit like that. You look like you are not well read. You didn't do your research. There are plenty of issues that you can take with Mike Cernovich, and there's plenty of things you can disagree with him on. You can disagree with him on his purposeful trolling, on joking about rape, date rape. That whole, I know not everyone's going to look into things. That whole interaction on Twitter when he was talking about date rape was how I actually found him, because some clown on the left made the proclamation that, oh, Mike Cernovich is a rape promoter. And I'm like, that sounds like some fucking bullshit. Anyway, the point of the tweet, you don't have to like it, you don't have to agree with it. The point of the tweet is in regards to the bigger conversation had in regards to crazy shit like Title IX. And Title IX, where there are people who are accused of rape and basically found guilty with no trial, with nothing, and kicked out of school. Do you really find that to be reasonable? You know, deep down, you know it's not Now, again, you can separate Cernovich's tweet from the Title IX discussion.
Deep down,
you don't have to like Cernovich.
You know that ain't right.
But at least get the whole thing right. It's fine if you take the position,
honey, you know I cried.
Mike Cernovich trolls too hard, and he's offensive. Okay, that's fine. Is it offensive to say shit like that? Fine, you can have that position. But to be like, he loves rape and he is an apologist for rape and he's pro-rape, you sound like a fucking idiot when you say shit like that. Take Title IX. It's a perfect example. Deep down, if one of y'all fucking pussy hat wearing motherfuckers is listening, you know it's fucked up to declare men guilty of rape and kicked out of school without a trial. You know it's fucked up. But you know why you won't go against it? Because you know on your side there's going to be plenty of people that are going, oh, you're a rape apologist. You support rapists, so you shut the fuck up because you're a goddamn coward. Now, you're free to be a fucking coward all you want, but you're going to call out people who have the bravery to speak out? Fuck you. That makes you a piece of shit. Let's continue. To be frank, I think a lot more people on the anti-establishment right understand this need to collaborate than those on the anti-establishment left. Cernovich and I probably disagree on more things than we agree on ideologically. Interesting. All of those fucking tweets could have been done away with this if these fucking people would simply read one goddamn sentence in an article. By the way, she followed this shit up with tweets making it clear that she doesn't agree with the tweets that Mike Cernovich said, but there is a frenzy. A frenzy. Oh my God, look what Mike Cernovich said. Caitlyn didn't denounce this. And then she denounced it. And then they're like, well, now you need to denounce Cernovich completely. All this is fucking virtue signalers trying to promote themselves by making people jump through the hoops of bullshit. Fuck that shit. We're not doing that. Fuck your hoops. Go find someone that'll happily jump through them. Go to a college campus. Go find some Clinton pussy hat wearers. They'll love to jump through your hoops like a bunch of fucking goddamn trained dogs. They'll jump through those hoops. Oh, can I have a cookie now? Can a black person hold the hoop? I really want to jump through a hoop held by a black person because I really want black people to know that I am totally...
Hillary stands and says, friends, Romans, countrymen, let's slip the dogs of pussy. And then all the pussy hat wearers
not
go
racist,
running down
okay?
the street. Howling.
Fucking sick. Sick. Because of the religion I was in, there's a lot of black people in Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was raised with black people my whole life. And I had a very devastating incident that happened when I was a teenager, when a black person who was very close to me explained exactly one of the things that white people do, talking about comedy. No. And I realized that I had done it.
No more.
I had realized that. And that was fucked up. I realized, holy shit, you're right about that. We are. And like I said, it comes from a good place. Not all white people. I know there's white people that are not raised like this.
I like my house with windows
I can only speak
even
by my
more.
own experience. If you didn't have that same experience, then fine. But I remember that.
No,
but I think because I had it explained
I don't get
to me,
down on my knees.
I'm not nervous. I don't give a fuck because calling me a racist it does nothing to me. It does nothing. You can call me a racist all you want. I am simply saying stop disrespecting black people by standing on their backs and virtue signaling.
Oh,
they see right through it. It's fucking ridiculous. So stop. And I will also say this. The black people that know this and take advantage of the white people that'll do that, y'all need to stop that too. That's fucked up. Instead of encouraging the virtue signaling, why don't you tell them the truth? Stop fucking treating us like children. Amazing when I see people promote the white liberal, fucking mainline Starbucks white guilt. It's fucking crazy. Fucking crazy.
Starbucks.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Royal Canadian Ninja Baristas.
But understand something about that level of white guilt. They really don't give a fuck about
Get the bagpipes.
They just want black people to not think they're racist. They won't lift a finger. Make no mistake. That's why Twitter is perfect for them. Because when it comes to black issues, they won't raise a fucking finger. But Twitter gives them the opportunity to, in front of all their friends.
These three people do bagpipe
impression. I called out Donald Trump's racism today. Oh, you're getting something? Can you get me a latte too?
You get a latte.
Yeah, I called out Donald Trump. He's so racist. How do they treat the black people?
Here, let me draw a little happy face on the side of your cup with this grease pencil. Would you like one of the little mustache?
I said, I'm only going on my experience in my location in a city where people know I'm from Philly. Well, in Philly, outside of Philly, you have arguably one of the most wealthy neighborhoods in the country. It's called the Main Line. I've been in the Main Line. I've lived in the Main Line. I don't anymore because I fucking hate it. I've seen all this shit. Firsthand, I have seen all of this shit. So I am not saying that this is your experience. This has simply been my experience. Continuing. Oh, and by the way, this is also my experience in talking to black people. I was told
his lived experience
by black people. And I know people are like, "Oh, you're making the argument just because a black person says something." Yeah, but I acknowledged that it was real and I thought it was true. Now, again, you may not agree with that. That's okay.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But I'm in a situation where if somebody that I'm close to who
Well, I've got one.
point something like that out, and I acknowledge that it's real, what am I supposed to do? Lie about it and be like, oh, that's not the case? Or desperately hold on to that? No, I think it's a valid observation, and I've seen it. It's very controversial, this conversation, but I'm just giving you my opinion. Cernovich and I probably disagree on more things than we agree on ideologically. But where we do agree, it's absolutely stupid for us not to work together. Because you could be damn sure the establishment Republican and Democrats are working together to advance the agendas of the deep state. Once we've killed the establishment propaganda machine that holds America's unelected power establishment in place, and given the American people the power to determine the direction that their country will take, Cernovich and I can fight all day and all night over socialized medicine and whether white men really have it that hard. Until then, the fight is a pointless waste of energy, which distracts from the real clear and present danger posed by the deep state right now. This doesn't mean we have to embrace all the beliefs of the anti-establishment, right? Nor does it mean that we've got to collaborate with all of them. So can I simply repeat that? It's very simple. This doesn't mean we have to embrace all the beliefs of the anti-establishment right, nor does it mean we've got to collaborate with all of them. This motherfucker right here is ignoring all of this in the article. Actually, you know what? No. Let me take a step back. Maybe I'm wrong, because I'll tell you this. I have only watched, what is this? This went up to 4 minutes. Maybe in the second half of the video, he actually acknowledges that. I don't know. I watched the first 4 minutes and was like, I have to cover this. And so... Plus,
this is just not passing fucking muster here.
And people in the chat are asking, so we're going to do it. So again, this doesn't mean you have to embrace all the beliefs of the anti-establishment right, nor does it mean we've got to collaborate with all of them. When I noticed a notification on Medium saying I've been followed by Richard Spencer, I blocked him immediately, for example. Now, see, I think she's making a distinction that's unnecessary, because I think I apply the same rules to Richard Spencer that I do to Mike Cernovich. I don't agree with Richard Spencer on white nationalism. I don't agree with him on a white ethno-state. If Richard Spencer says, hey, I like pie, I'd be like, yeah, I agree with you. You see what I'm saying?
Pie.
Like, just because Richard Spencer may say something.
If it's key lime pie, I have to wonder, are you a fan of Oliver Stone? The way that Vanity Fair covered him,
they wanted to make sure that they got people on camera Sieg Heiling. Okay, that was an underhanded tactic by the media. Now, just because you tell the truth about the media being dishonest doesn't mean that he suddenly is not a white nationalist and suddenly doesn't want a white ethno-state. Those two things can be true at the same time, and you can disagree with the media being dishonest in principle and also not agree with white nationalism.
You know what's funny is I have to stop and talk about this at this moment in time. I'm just thinking here about the last time I got into close conversation / confrontation, metaphorically or even metadidactically in the realm of metaphor. It was in public, though, not in a written or artistic form. So as I was doing my thing, a person walks past me and decided to use one fairly crude and inappropriate, as far as I was concerned, stereotypical way of addressing me, rather than even using my name when he damn well knew it. Like we were friends, so to speak, on Facebook. So I said to him, the next time you're going to do that kind of crap or pull that kind of stereotypical stuff, I'll be giving you perhaps a Sieg Heil. Meaning, to give him one of them, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm the Nazi. Usually when you do that to someone, you're trying to call them the Nazi. That's the way I understand it. That's the way those signals work. So when people in the media go out of their way to find the frame of, someone doing that, they're going out of their way to do that. But let's remember, the one that they don't like seeing for reals is the one that mocks them for what they are. The ones who vilify and hate.
This is very easy shit for people
things like friggin' popular opinion to get their way.
Soapbox and pull their dicks out and wave them around. Virtue signaling. Super chat, Christy Jacoby. I said this before, but if Cernovich was rescuing people from a burning building, you can bet your ass I'd help him. Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. Exactly. That is the
We're
perfect
winning 8
fucking
minutes
analogy
to the end of the video here.
Burning building is perfect. You have a potential war with Russia. Are people denying the potential war with Russia? Are they denying what the corporate media is doing? Are they denying all this? if you believe those things are true, you're putting your virtue signaling before everybody else. That's fucked up. Let's continue. This doesn't mean we have to embrace all the... Oh, I already said that. Richard Spencer, I blocked him immediately. See, I think you're kind of giving in to this whole, oh my God, the alt-right. I've talked with people from the alt-right. I'm going to be talking with more people from the alt-right. I'm going to be featuring debates with people who are pro-alt-right and anti-alt-right. And the purpose of that is because these are people have beliefs that I don't agree with, but also the idea that the painting of the alt-right as this just Nazi, evil, fucking horrible thing. Do you realize what you're doing? You're making it mysterious to young people. You're also in a situation, depending on which country you're in, you're also in a situation where young white people are seeing, if you're in Germany, if you're in the UK, they're seeing what the government's doing. And then they see the only people, at least in their mind, standing against it are these nationalist groups, makes them look attractive. And then all you have to do, you give them the hip-hop effect from the late 80s. Hip-hop now is considered completely acceptable in mainstream. In the late 80s, it was almost like Al-Qaeda. Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions, when the S1Ws were dressed up in military fatigues, and I had that tape, people acted like I had fucking terrorist propaganda. And that just made it more cool as a fucking whatever age I was, 13, 14.
Oh, wow.
So now you're going to make the alt-right seem cool. That's stupid. That is the worst strategy. Get all of the beliefs out there. And also when they have a point like about uncontrolled immigration, just because they may be right about that in a certain country, I don't think we have that problem in America, but in Germany it's clearly the case. That doesn't make you an alt-righter. It's just like, you know, alt-right people, they eat cookies and cake too. Does that mean that if you like cookies and cake, you're a Nazi? It's ridiculous.
No, it probably means that you're part of the hoi polloi, though. If you eat cookies and cake, you're at least part of the Ancien regime, surely. Ask Marie Antoinette.
This is what they want. They want us to be petty bitches and do shit like this. So I give them no quarter. So I don't give a fuck who follows me, who retweets me. I don't give a fuck. Outside of like ISIS terrorists and pedophiles. Y'all get blocked. Actually, I don't block anybody, but y'all get, I'll denounce it. I'll just say that. Because I also reject this idea that I have any control of what people do. I reject that. I don't. So fuck it. Anyway, you can trust yourself to know who to collaborate with and in what areas. Exactly. And the audiences of people that you view credible should trust that too. And if you have an issue, instead of being like, well, fuck them, they're done, why don't you sack up, call in, email, and interact with the people? A lot of us have lines that you can call up and talk to. You know, it's interesting. I thought that
this is why this is an interesting piece.
The call-in show, for example, was a way to deal with the fact that it's impossible for me to keep up with YouTube comments. So I had assumed that when I would do call-in shows, I'd get a lot of the people that disagreed with me in the comments call up, but they rarely call up. Now, I'm fine with whoever calls up for whatever reason, but that was a surprise. And that's what I'm saying. If you truly believe that someone has taken a misstep, call them up, talk to them. Email them. And if they tell you to fuck yourself, then obviously call them out. No question. Christy Jacoby, Super Chat, dehumanizing the alt-right is stooping to their level. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go.
Actually, I would say it's going lower than them because a lot of times the alt-right, I've seen people from the alt-right in debates, they act completely fine and cordial. And it's usually the liberals that look dumb trying to... They try so hard to paint them as Nazis, and people see that, and they see. That's why people like Jared Taylor can destroy a CNN lunatic in a discussion, because she's completely out of her mind and doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. I don't doubt that Spencer was curious about my lefty anti-establishment perspective and the very spirit of collaboration I'm talking about here. But we've all got limits in that mind, and that's mine. Okay, so she has a different limit than me. I respect that. I have no problem there. I just don't agree there. You can trust yourself to know who to collaborate with in what areas. This notion that you cannot safely collaborate with the right is based on the false premise that we're all too stupid and inept to make the distinctions. Like, it would be as ridiculous for me to like go crazy about, like, I'm a full free speech absolutist. If you're for free speech, I stand with you. That's it. So to do this on the reverse, this would be like me completely trying to lead an attack against her because she draws her line at Richard Spencer, which I don't agree with. Do you see what I'm saying? That would be retarded. And I wouldn't do that. It's the same thing, just in the opposite direction of what they're doing. You can trust yourself to know who to collaborate with in what areas. This notion that you cannot safely collaborate with the right is based on the false premise that we're all too stupid and inept to make distinctions. I still welcome Spencer's opposition to U.S. interventionism, and I welcome him to practice it far away from me. Here's Styx Hexenhammer, who's fucking awesome.
Truth.
I'm not sure, is she using him as an example of the alt-right? Because Styx Hexenhammer is not a member of the alt-right. Styx Hexenhammer is one of the best political analysis channels on YouTube. I fully recommend him. That dude is a fucking genius. This ability to collaborate with confidence and... Oh, by the way, those of you that were promoting Lionel Nation, I've been watching him. I like him. He's very good. So shout out also to Lionel Nation. This ability to collaborate, and he's funny. He's funny, and he doesn't curse, but he uses these very funny words. It cracks me up. He's got a good like. A
lot of shout-outs in this video,
personality thing going there. This ability to collaborate with confidence and agility against the enemy of humanity is our best shot at turning this fight around. Divide and conquer has been a tried and true tactic of imperialists around the world for many centuries, but the internet has given us an unprecedented ability to cross lines, network, and share information with people we normally wouldn't speak to. Don't let them shame you away from sharing a good argument or forming a useful partnership with someone just because you're on the other part of the ideological spectrum. We're at war. We're at risk of an extinction-level catastrophe caused by the deep state's insane power grabs. And we simply do not have the luxury of partnership with vanity politics right now. Collaborate and collaborate shamelessly. All right. They're trying to divide us because they're terrified of what will happen when we unite. This is exactly correct. This is exactly fucking correct.
So that's pretty much it for this evening's stream. I'm going to cut over to the video cam over. I'd like to thank you all for watching. We've been mostly dealing with some other content from other sources on YouTube this evening. It's not the only thing that I'm going to be offering for content though in the future. So if you're interested in seeing things like this, or if you have any suggestions for things that you would be interested in seeing, please subscribe or comment below or send me a message via my YouTube channel here, and I will do my best to do something for you. And we're going to stop streaming.